you need help with addiction and don't know where to go, you can call the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration 24 hours a day. The number is 1-800-662-HELP or 1-800-662-4357. They work around the clock and will help you find what you need.
Hello, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. People, sorry I'm running a little bit late, but for those of you who don't go over and check out Wages World, first off, shame on you. But second off, if you haven't been paying attention, folks, a lot of really crazy stuff has been happening on the sun, and it has a direct response to what happens on the internet. And we have definitely been experiencing some internet issues, but we're here. So if by some chance, people, something screwy happens and we do get kicked out, just be looking for the next live feed. I mean, you can never really go back into the one you're already in. So if by some chance the captain gets booted out, be looking for us to go right below with a brand new live feed and just step off of this one and back to the next one. But let's hope that this works out and that's not something that we have to deal with. Before I get rolling, a couple of things we want to go over. First off, I did get an update today on Journey. The little Grizz is doing considerably better, people, and we're really thankful about that. Her husband had surgery, and he had a plate and some pins and screws and such that were put into his leg. Which, people, that's never, when people talk about minor surgery, that's usually something that happened to somebody else. If it's you, it's no such thing as minor surgery or procedures or any such. So. But he has come through and is out of the hospital. So still more thoughts and prayers because there's going to be a healing process. He's obviously going to be in, a pretty healthy amount of pain from this. And we want to make sure that, our thoughts and prayers stay with him. And people, I really have a big one. If Bent Genetics, been just an amazing crew member on this boat from the first day that, we started up back when it was the Tommy Scoville show. Bent has been here from the very beginning, just a very positive guy. And he's really going through it, without getting into too much details and without, telling his business to everybody in the world. He's got some issues going on with his wife's health. And right now that man needs prayers and needs them in a big way, and just thoughts and prayers, not only for his wife, but for him as he's working through this, people. He's, as I said, he's just a really, really great guy and a good part of the crew, and he needs our thoughts and prayers. People, today we're going to be talking about something that affects every single person on the planet, and most assuredly affects every single person on the lifeboat. We're talking about loss, and loss comes in a lot of different shapes, a lot of different sizes. The one that jumps out at you when you first hear the word loss is usually someone passing away. Obviously, that's the very top of the food chain. That's the pinnacle of loss. But as I said, it comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes. As we come into the holiday season, there are going to be individuals who are experiencing their first holiday without a loved one. There are going to be, wives who don't have their their husbands, and husbands that don't have their wives, and people that don't have their parents. And this is going to be the first Christmas that I have spent on the planet that my dad is not going to be here for. And that's, this is the reality of all of these seasons. Everybody is always dealing with the first. And, that's part of, the process of being a person. Nobody gets off the planet alive, right? And that means that, this is something everybody has to deal with, good, bad, or indifferent. It's what happens. However, for those of us on the boat, for those of us who have at one time or another been, had our lives dictated by a substance or a habit, loss is a much more difficult thing to cope with. We've talked many times on the boat about the stunted emotional development, right? Everybody has an IQ. It's an intelligent quotient, right? Your IQ is a score. Normally, somebody's going to be somewhere in the high 90s, to say 115, 120. You got people in that neck of the woods who are fairly normal to intelligent, right in there. Start getting higher than that, you're into genius and you're into, but really people, all it is judging is how much you can learn. It doesn't say that you know things. Think about it in terms of a bathtub. How much water can that bathtub hold? Well, your IQ is basically telling you how much information your brain can hold. You can decide to fill that with absolutely anything. You could fill it with, scientific research, or you could fill it with every Grateful Dead song lyric ever made. It doesn't necessarily make you intelligent. It just means that you have the ability to amass a lot of knowledge in your head. On the flip side, you have what's called an EQ. That is your emotional quotient. And people, you do the same type of thing. For individuals, as we grow and we cope and we deal with different things in life, things like loss, things like love, greed, hate, all of the different emotions, we start to build an emotional quotient. And it's a toolbox that gives you the opportunity, and it gives you the tools needed so that when something comes up, you have the capacity to cope with this and to do it in hopefully a fairly healthy manner. The trouble is that with addiction, that emotional quotient pulls an emergency brake the very second you become an addict. So if you started your drug use at 14 and you continued to use till you were, say, 45, all of the time from 14 to 45, when you would be building that EQ, when you would be filling that toolbox with all of the tools needed to cope, all the tools needed to do what people who aren't addicts do each and every day, which is take in what has happened, think about it, how it affects you, and then honestly use your logic center of your brain to cut a deal with the emotional part of your brain to cope and to deal with loss in any of its forms. So for those of us on the boat, those of us who spent great deals of our lives under the influence of drugs or alcohol, our EQ isn't what it should be. And catching up, people, is a very difficult thing to do. So instead of being, I hate to use the word, but I think I'll have to. So instead of being normal in that, we're like everybody else in the free world, that simply isn't the case. So we have to put into place different practices that people who are not addicts don't have to do. So as we start to deal with loss, before we allow the emotional part of our brain to run rampant and stomp us out, we have to logically think about the things that are coming up. People, I use myself as an example always because it's the only one that I can speak about with intelligence and without feeling like, I'm discussing anybody's personal life other than my own. But this Thanksgiving coming up, this Christmas, are going to be the first two holidays, big ones, without my dad. Now, I was born in the month of July, so I had, have to cope with the first birthday, his anniversary, Father's Day. All of those things came up and came and went. And for me, there's a process right before that, day comes where I have to sit down and think about exactly what's going to happen to me, because I know that what's going to happen in the emotional center of my brain isn't normal and it isn't right. And I know that it's going to cause me to not relapse, because I'm to the point in my life where that's not an option for me. But what it's going to cause me to do is start to question an awful lot about how I'm doing the things that I'm doing. And it makes me struggle. It makes me think about things that normally I wouldn't think about, like drugs. And it's never, for most addicts, it's not the thought of, oh boy, would it feel good to get high. It's more of, boy, if I could make this go away. For those of you who have been on the boat long enough, you probably remember the incident with my friend number 5. When number 5 died, I did a video, I talked about it. I very badly wanted to get high. I never once for a split second thought about getting high, but I wanted everybody to know that this is what happens when you get into the grieving process and you start to cope with loss as an addict. That center of your brain is going to go, boom, you know what to do. We'll just make this go away for 8 to 10 hours. Won't that be nice? Right? Just make it go away. And it really starts to try to talk you into doing the wrong thing. And we've talked about this about 1,000,000 times, people. And before I'm done, you will hear it another 1,000,000 times. The reward center of your brain is used to rewarding you for doing something stupid, for doing something not intelligent. So when loss starts to crawl into your life, then your brain starts doing exactly what it should not do, which is encouraging you to go do the wrong thing. People, this is when you have to sit down and you have to logically think about what is happening with your emotions. And the key to this every time is to be logical in saying the emotional feelings that are going to creep up inside me right now aren't right. I know that my EQ is not developed the way it's supposed to be. So the feelings and the desires and everything that is about to happen to me is not like it would be for someone who was not an addict. It's going to try to drive me to do something stupid, and I need to override this. I need to not allow emotions to run my life, especially during a time of loss. Now, people, we're talking about death, right? But death is only one form of loss. There are so many other forms of loss that we all struggle with. Divorce is an amazing thing in this country. Really, at this point, more than half of marriages end in divorce. So there are a lot of people who are dealing with the loss of someone that at one point in their lives, they believed they were going to grow old with. Again, this is something that is a difficult thing under the best of circumstances, but being a recovering drug addict, dealing with divorce is a very difficult thing. Maybe more so in some cases than death, because of the fact that whenever there's a divorce, there is blame that is going to be levied out, right? It's just something that we all do. If somebody says to me, Tommy, I know that you and your ex-wife got divorced, before I can even, get the words out of my mouth to say, yes, that happened, my brain is going, yeah, and it's her fault. Make no mistake about it, that was her fault. But as an addict with a really seriously damaged emotional quotient, inevitably I have to take a hard look at that marriage. And if it were not for drugs, I'm quite sure that I would still be married to that woman. So I have to shoulder a large responsibility for that loss, whether I like it or not. That seems to be the truth. And the truth is something that, as addicts can be a very difficult thing to cope with. So as we start getting into the holiday season, this morning I talked about it briefly on this morning's video, where I talked about the difficulty of the holiday season. As an addict, all of the things that didn't go well over the course of the year get exacerbated something fierce from the beginning of November until January the 2nd. I've said this on the air before, but when you're incarcerated, this is the time of year where the suicides happen. Every year, somebody in the prison is going to end up taking their own life. And it's going to happen always at this time of year. People do not let, the emotions get a hold of you and make you start thinking about a permanent solution, to a temporary problem. As I said yesterday, we've got a number up there. You're going to see it scrolling across the bottom of the screen. If you ever start feeling like you're in that zone, people pick up the phone and dial that number. And the people there are going to do what needs to be done, which is talk to you about where you're at. You absolutely can come and talk to people on the lifeboat. However, I'm not a doctor. Mark's not a doctor. We're not shrinks. We talk about drug addiction. But when you start getting to the point where you're talking or seriously contemplating removing yourself from the population, then it's time to call that number. So as these holidays come up, the thing that I want to encourage everybody here to do more than anything else is a twofold assignment. Number one, if you're going through it, if you're really hurting this season, come here and tell somebody about it. We've established over the course of the time that the boat has been the boat, that you can come here and talk about anything, and people aren't going to judge you. People aren't going to pick on you or or be bullies, right? That's not something that we allow here. So if you come here and you're open, and then the kind of emotional support and help that you're going to need will be available to you. So I encourage everybody to just be honest and open this holiday season. We are the chosen family. Everybody here has decided to be part of this. And the love and support, you guys talk about it every day. Everybody talks about it every day. You know, when people come and find the lifeboat for the first time, they're astounded at just how beautifully you all treat one another. So if you start feeling that, and if you're going through it, please, folks, come to the lifeboat, go over to the Facebook group, but reach out. It's essential. And the second part of this assignment, there are going to be people who are going to be going through it this holiday season who think that, you know what, stiff upper lip is the way to go. You know, I'm just going to get through this, and I don't need to be bothering everybody on the boat with my problems. You know, they're all going through things. People, keep your eyes and your ears open, right? You know, the old expression, you know, your brother's keeper. You know, you are your brother's keeper on the lifeboat. Everybody here is our brothers, and for that matter, our sister's keeper. It is what we do. Now, there are people that view sobriety in a different way, but we don't. We firmly believe here at the lifeboat that what makes sobriety work in the best of circumstances, when it is working and it is doing it correctly, it's the emotional connection to people who feel the same way. It is an emotional connection to people who are all fighting for the same thing, everybody wanting the same goal, and really willing to bend over backwards in order to make sure that that is something everybody here has their best shot at. So as we start getting into the holiday season, please, people, keep your eyes and ears open. If there's somebody that's here every single day, we never miss them. They're on every live feed and they're gone for 3 or 4 of them. Let's find out why. Let's reach out to these people. If you go over to the Facebook page and you put a message up, that alert goes out to everybody. You know, reach out. It's the right thing to do. Hey, where's Tommy? You know, I haven't seen him in 3 or 4 days. What's going on? Does anyone know what's going on with so-and-so? People, that is who we are. Make no mistake. That is who we are. That is who you are. That is what makes us different. So as the holidays start to roll around and loss becomes something that everyone is dealing with, even if it's minute, right? Even if it's the loss of possessions, because as we start going down the food chain, like I said, the top of it is obviously death. And then you start getting things like divorce. But people, how many of us during the course of the time that we have been addicts and living a life that was less than ideal, the number of possessions and things that were important to us that were lost? People, I pawned heirlooms, right? I took things that had been in my family for Lord knows how long and went to pawn shops to borrow money from them so I could get heroin. And those kind of things, those little possessions and things, it always seems to be this time of year that you start thinking about the things that you've lost. You start thinking about the problems that your decisions while you were using have caused. So regardless of what that feeling of loss is, whether it is the absolute pinnacle when you lose someone that you love and care about, or if it's something as minor as, you know, while I was using, I got my car repoed, never feel like coming here and talking about anything is trivial. There's nothing more frustrating to me than when you see people who say things like, oh, well, I didn't want to bother anybody with that. I get emails, right? The last thing I wanted to do is bother you. Bother me? Bother me. Mark, you hearing this? People, this is why we do what we do. The reason that Mark and I are here is because we believe wholeheartedly that you are your brother's keeper, and that if this is one of the few things on the planet, it's one of the only possessions known to man, that the only way to hold on to it right is to give it away, right? This is, you don't guard your sobriety like it's a coin you want to stick in a drawer and come back and see in 15 years. This is one of those things that you want to share with people. And you know, the proof is in the pudding, people. This is not something that we came up with, right? We are using time-tested and true methods. I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again. 2 alcoholics figured this out. Scientists couldn't, doctors couldn't, They went out and looked for the magic pill. There had to be a bullet. There had to be some way to treat addiction. And they literally threw their hands up. People, if you can find an old physician's desk reference, they will tell you it's not curable. There is no treatment. That was their philosophy. I'm talking about people who spent, 20 years going to school so that they could find out what's wrong with the human condition, who said, nope, just keep them away from guns. Don't let them operate heavy machinery. And for the love of everything good, don't let them drive a car. That was the medical community's stance on alcoholism and addiction. And then two guys came up with a plan, and the plan was quite simple. One realized that no matter what he tried, he always was going to go to the bottle. There was no way he was going to get through a day without being able to use. He couldn't do it. So he said to his friend, I'll keep you from drinking tomorrow. I might not be able to stop myself, but I can stop you. Of course, Bill W. then agreed that, yeah, all right, I'll keep you sober. And two guys who were alcoholics started a revolution that changed the course of history. You talk about the butterfly effect. People, we're not here without those two. When you see a bumper sticker that says another friend of Bill W., trust and believe you're a friend of Bill W. I made badmouth 12-step programs, but without them, folks, I'm somewhere right now with a needle in my arm. That's the reality. So what we're doing is not new, and it's not a concept that we came up with. I do believe that Mark and I may have come up with a concept that may have improved upon it. I really do believe that what we're doing here on the boat and the ability to tap into this around the clock from wherever you are. There's nobody in this country who knows somebody, honestly, at this day and age that doesn't have a smartphone, right? They're ubiquitous. Everybody on the planet has one. So what we've done is to take a very time-tested, true, proven method and bring it into this century. And in the process of doing that, something very unique happened. You all took ownership of what we wanted to start and build. You made it your own. And not just in the aspect of naming it and of determining what times of day we would do, but people, you determined that this was going to be a live show. And for those people who, if you've spent any time on Facebook, on YouTube, they will tell you that you're not going to build a channel doing the live feed thing. There's a lot of reasons for that. If you're monetizing people, we're not getting any monetization when someone comes to see a live feed. Who cares, right? It's not what we're doing. We're here to make sure that everybody can communicate with one another. Videos are great. The ones in the morning, we impart good information on that. And you know what, people? I would like to thank all of you for showing up. Those videos are seeing way more views than they were when, back when I did the apology, back when I was sort of phoning it in and just coming in the morning and saying, hey, I'll be on at 6 o'clock tonight. It's good to see you. Okay, since starting to put some content and to start, where we're talking about issues that are important day to day to remain sober, you all started showing up in mass. In fact, right now the views in the morning are up by so much that it's making it worthwhile for us to continue to do it. They're important. They really are. They impart excellent knowledge. If there's something going on with the lifeboat, you all hear about it then. But the problem with it is you can leave a comment, but you sure can't interact. And while I'm talking right now, people, I know what's happening, right? I don't have to look at it, but I know all of you are discussing things with one another and you're there for each other. And that bond, that camaraderie, that family is really what is making this so unique. The going from channel to phenomenon is not something that Mark and I did. It's something that you people are doing, and you're doing it day in, day out. We could not be happier with the direction of the boat. So as we start to move up and start to move into this, as we start to move into the holiday season, it's coming, right? It's the holiday blues. This is not something that is, I'm not telling you anything that is like shocking to any of you, right? You all know that for a lot of people in this country, this is really a tough time of year. And I'm one of them. I'm not going to lie to you. Last year there was a honeymoon thing for me because, well, number one, my dad was still, with me. And it was the first holidays that I was spending out of incarceration in a really long time. And in spite of the fact that C+ math thing, it kept me away from my family in lockdown, I was still walking on sunshine because I was free. But this year is going to be different. It's going to be it's going to be a tough holiday for me. It really is. And I'm here to tell all of you, it's going to be a tough holiday for me. But I promise you this, I'm going to share that with you. And on days where I'm hurting and on days where my brain is telling me to make a really stupid decision, I'm going to practice exactly what I preach. I am going to come to the lifeboat. I'm going to tell people here that I'm hurting, and I'm going to take all of the affection and all of the support that you people give to each other every day. You give so much to me. If you knew how many emails, especially in the last 3 weeks, there's just been this shift. I'm not exactly sure I know how to explain it, but there has been a shift in the lifeboat where I get at a minimum a dozen emails a day from people who just say, "Are you all right? Is everything going good?" And that's humbling more than anything that happens here. I saw Joe Birdwell, put up a donation, and I can't thank you enough. I saw Seventh Son do it. God bless you. That's humbling stuff. But when somebody reaches out and just says, "Are you okay? Is there anything that I can do for you?" As the host of a channel on YouTube, I think that's probably that's the highest form of pay that you're going to get. I mean, that is something that the government can't tax and no one can take away. It really does get you up and get you excited about what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. I'm not, as much as I really want to be here for everybody, it's really wild to know everybody is here for me. I guess that might be one more thing that I didn't see coming. Every couple of videos I say, there's one more thing that I didn't see coming. But truthfully, that is one of them. The level of support that I have received from people on the boat has been nothing short of miraculous, and one of the most humbling things that has ever happened to me. People, we're going to want to open this up here in a few minutes so that we can get as many questions in as possible. And people, please, after I do turn this over to my partner, if you have questions, man, that is the time to fire them at me. I'm not being a jerk. You can send me a question anytime you want. But it would be very efficient if you did it here and in the now, right, where you can have live feedback and we can go back and forth. But before we get to that, there's a couple of things that I would like to cover. First and foremost, another shout out, because I don't think there could possibly be enough of them, to Joe Birdwell for opening up his life to the world. Think about it, people. There's a lot of you on this boat. The majority of you on this boat have a sobriety date, and it's a sobriety date that you went through and you hung through it. You remember how difficult it was? You remember the first couple of months of it's a struggle, right? It was a day to day, sometimes minute to minute. It's a struggle. Now, can you imagine saying to the entire world, "Go ahead and watch. I'll let you check this out"? Boy, I can't. I don't know the intestinal fortitude, the backbone, and the love more than anything. I mean, Joe's not doing this to become famous, I assure you. He's a great guy. And when we talked to him the first time about this, it was beautiful because his response was, "Well, if you think it'll help people," right? If you think it'll help people, boy, is it helping people. I'm telling you, when I woke up this morning, there were 37 emails in my inbox, which is pretty close to standard. I may get some days a little more, some days a little less, but normally there's 5 or 6 different subject matters that people are talking about. This morning, each and every one of those emails had something to do with last night's interview with Joe. And you guys missed one of the coolest things ever, right? Only my partner and Joe Birdwell happened to catch this. But we had a visitor actually come into the office last night and step through the window on the boat to stick her head in and tell Joe that she watched every single minute of that and just how much she was touched by it. My mom actually was here last night and popped her head in to tell Joe that, and it was just special. It was a very cool thing. So I do want to thank Joe for allowing us to share everything that's going on with everybody here, because that is just absolutely amazing. It really is. People, before I turn this over, a couple of things, and I promise you I'm going to give this to my partner. But if you haven't written a goodbye letter to your drug of choice, if you're new to the boat and you don't know what this is, cruise over and check out the playlist that is titled goodbye letters. Shouldn't be hard to find. And it is going to show you how most people have written these goodbye letters to their drug of choice. It is something that really, really, it's essential. It really is, people. Smarter folks than me or my partner came up with this. But almost everyone in the rehab community does this now because it is essential. And if you want your story told, if you're willing to help other people by allowing us to interview you, please reach out to me, send me the goodbye letters. If you are writing one that you do not want shared with the world, but you want me to read it, send it to me right on there, just for your eyes. A lot of people do that. And if you don't want anyone reading it, write it and then keep it for yourself or tear it up. But it is an essential part of turning your life over to a whole new you, to a page 3 you. That is essential. And as we're talking about loss, Seventh Son, right, is a member in great standing on this boat. Has been here from Jump Street. Absolutely love him. And this is a tough time because of the loss that he experienced. Lost his wife, and this is it's just an example, people, of exactly what I'm talking about. The beautiful thing is this: he is open. He talks about it. He comes here. So, man, all the love and support you can give him today in the comment section. Let's show the world what we do, right, with our own. And at that point, people, I think I've probably jaw-jacked, a little bit more than normal. So at this point, I'm going to turn this over to my partner. Mark, how are you, my brother?
I'm doing okay today. How about you?
I'm good. I really am.
Good. Yeah, I mean, I want to touch on the goodbye letters just for a second, because I really think, like I said before, I've been in recovery for a very long time, but I had never done that. And I have to tell you that it was pretty liberating just doing it. It's almost like, I don't know, it's like you know how I talk about recreating more memories when you're sober? That's going to be key during this time of year. Okay? Now, what I want to say here with that is that what you're doing this year, you're going to build for next. Okay? This year may be hard, okay? But next year when you get there, you're going to be able to say, hey, last year, yeah, it was hard, but I did it. And then as those years start clipping by, eventually you don't even think about it. And I say that from experience. Now, I will say this: it will never, ever go completely away. I hate to say that, but it is the truth. And it's something that, we all have to build on. But it does get so much easier to deal with. As last year was the first year I was able to belly laugh since my addiction. It really was, because I just, my life was so revolved around being happy, and I was a fake happy. And once you realize, what the real happy is again, it's hard to explain until you start experiencing it yourself. And I say all that because this is a hard time of year for a lot of people. And unfortunately, people pass away, all those things. But we have the added stress of fighting an addiction at the same time. And that's something that, people that don't will never understand. And, me and Tommy had a discussion. I think it might have been private. I can't remember if we did it on air or not. But the difference between empathizing and sympathizing. There is a huge difference there, guys. Huge. I can empathize with somebody because I've not been through that situation. But I can't sympathize with them. You just get a deeper feeling for it when you're able to sympathize. And, and that's what I'm talking about with the boat. Because everybody here, majority of us can sympathize. Not just empathize, sympathize. And I got big thighs, so we're all good. But yeah, I mean, and I really do, this is key for building new memories. It really is. Do as much as you can. Don't, like on Christmas Day, a lot of people like to get locked up in the house and don't do nothing. Well, that might not have to be you this year. You may not be able to do that. You might want to go do something. Take a walk. Whatever you got to do. I ain't telling you not to be around your family because that's what you need to do because that's what it's about. But at the same time, if you got to step away for a minute, don't feel bad for that. Because they're not going to want you to be unhappy just sitting there anyway. You know what I mean? At least most families wouldn't. And if you find yourself in a hard spot, I can tell you right now that even on Christmas Day, that myself and Tommy will be available to take calls, emails, all of that stuff. Okay? My family is so understanding. My family is, it's not, matter of fact, they would encourage me to do that. We used to buy each other, like for my extended family, we used to buy each other Christmas, and we would do a lot, okay? I'll just put it to you that way. I mean, we had some good Christmases, big presents and all those kinds of things. And we still buy for the kids, but we take that money that we were spending on each other and we find somebody that can't provide for their kids. And we take care of that family for them.
Very cool.
So we take our own, we take our stuff. And I don't say that for any kind of accolade. I just say that because there's people out there that don't have what you have. And not just monetarily, they're not going to have that love connection that people have with a lot of families. And when there's drug addiction involved, sometimes, it makes it just that much worse for people, especially the kids. I mean, it really is. It's the kids. But you can't take care of your kids if you're not taking care of yourself. So you got to get your mind right. You really have to have your mind right. And the way to do that, I'm telling you guys, is to really assert yourself when you don't want to. You have to get yourself into those situations again and learn and teach your brain how to deal with that stuff in the right way. And you may fail. You may fail a bunch, but I promise you it'll be worth it because you're going to learn from it. And again, I'm not telling you to put yourself in a really, really stressful situation. What I'm saying is, like, if you're around your family or whatever and, you feel like you just want to bolt, you get really, really, really anxious or whatever. That's what happened to me. And, I had to fight that. And then I would just tell myself, hey, let me sit here for 10 minutes more. Or I would look over at my dad or my wife and we would engage in a conversation and it immediately takes your mind off of it. Just remember, you can't think about two things at once. So if you're engaged in a conversation with somebody, even at a family gathering, you're not thinking about that drug addiction. So it'll help you get through it. So, and that's, again, guys, that's what I would have to say there. The memory thing is big for me. It's been big in my life, and that's why I keep saying it, because it really was. And it took me a minute to even realize that's what I needed to do. And, everybody needs to do it. So try. That's all I'm saying. What could happen? It not work, and you're sitting there the same as you always were? I mean, honestly. And I also want to touch on the suicide thing. Yes, we made sure we put that stuff up here on the channel because drug addiction and suicide oftentimes go hand in hand. And not just for the addict, okay? It's for the family of the addict a lot of times. Especially parents, wives, even children. They really go, it makes it hard on them. And, so just make sure you're sensitive to that and you can kind of see that. Because they might not be able to verbalize it to you, but if somebody in your family is still struggling with your drug addiction, make sure you can see it. And you can say, hey, you're not going to hurt my feelings. Come scream at me if you need to. I mean, really, honestly, that's what I would suggest. And if it doesn't work like that, then try those numbers. You can call me and Tommy or whoever else is here on the boat, Facebook group. All those avenues we're starting to provide for everybody. It's almost getting to the point where it's, there's enough out there. There's no excuse for not talking to somebody. There's really not. Like we said before, we got all kinds of life preservers. It's endless supply. We're going to throw them at you. It might not always be what you want to hear, but it's going to be what you need to hear. And that's kind of where we're at with everything, I think. And I'm glad that we're this far, this quick. And you have to understand that this doesn't happen. It just doesn't. I've been in the YouTube game for too long, and I've seen it. I've seen people have a channel that's good stuff. I mean, like really good content that has 200 subscribers, and it's been on YouTube for 5 years. It's like, so we're really fortunate, is what I'm trying to say. And we're fortunate to have each other. And Tommy said it earlier, I'm humbled every time any of that kind of stuff happens. Any kind of compliment. You guys, I don't even know how to say it. I'm at a loss for words, just like Tommy was. It's like, what do? You're like, man, that makes you feel so good. Almost makes you uncomfortable at some level. But that's you guys. You guys did that, and that's why we're still going. It really is. And again, on my channel, same thing. It's the connection, and we're there for each other. And Joe, my gosh, man. Yeah, Tommy said something I had never even thought about, and that was the fact that you're sharing your story right now at the hardest time of recovery. I don't know that I could have, and it's crazy. When you said that earlier, Tommy, I was like, wow. Yeah, it just hit me like, yeah, that's what he's doing. And it's like, that makes it even that much more special. It's just crazy. Yeah, I don't know if I could have. So thank you, Joe, because you're helping a lot of people. A lot more than you're ever going to know or hear about. I'm telling you, man, it's a trickle-down effect, and it's going to spread. It already has. It's not going to stop. So yeah, that's my spiel.
Well, I appreciate your spiel. I do want to do a shout out of a couple of things. I was, when Mark talks, it gives me a chance to look down and see some of the comment section, which is awesome because we all know I'm a squirrel and I can't do it both at the same time. But I had brought up the loss of 7 sons, and what he had gone through, and I said, hey, so you know what? You show the man a little bit of love. And the first thing I saw when I looked up, he was like, no, way too late, Captain. They've been doing that all night, So it's just beautiful to see how this crew takes care of its own. Speaking of which, saw a name I've never seen before. So the 40-foot garbage man has joined us here on the lifeboat. Great to have you. And right from the word go has reached out and said, you know what, I could use some prayers. Fantastic. We're more than happy to accommodate positive thoughts and prayers. It's one of the things that we do, and we do really well. Also, if you're new on the boat, you're here tonight, and we haven't met, right? I can sit here and I can say, welcome to the boat. But the best thing that you can do is to drop me an email. Look, it can be a paragraph. It can be 25 minutes of reading. But either way, Joe Birdwell says, I'm still lurking. I love y'all. Joe, we love you too, brother. And by the way, Joe also, fired another of the gifts to us. And Joe, you're a great guy, Joe. Wow. You really are. You're a great guy. It's humbling. Yeah, you're very welcome, 40-foot garbage man. You are very, very welcome. So please do me a favor. Take the time. Just shoot me an email. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where you're at. If there's anything that specifically we can think of for thoughts and prayers for you. Anything like that. That goes to everybody on this boat. If there's something on your mind, or if I don't know you well, please take the time to reach out, people. It's something that Cemetery 76 says, yes, I lurk a bit. You know what, people, if you look at the number of people who are on here, and then you read the number of names that are in the chat, we got a lot of people who lurk, and that's awesome. I don't think we saw Joe Birdwell's name until he was ready to take the plunge. So he was lurking here for a while. You know what? It just works. If you're here and you're watching, we have no problem with lurkers. And if you're a lurker from the far, long, long ago, and you're just lurking here, and you'd like to be a little bit more included again, reach out to Captain Tommy Scoville at gmail.com. Tell me why, and we'd be more than happy to reach back out, give you a great big hug, and welcome you back to the lifeboat in good standing and fashion. I am at Captain Tommy Scoville at gmail.com. That would be Captain Tommy Scoville at gmail.com. Really hope to hear from all of you. It's really a great thing when I have the opportunity to find out more about you. It's one of those things that it brings us all closer together. And yeah, I mean, that really is, it's the dream of what we have here, people. You know, other channels have subs, right? We got a crew, and this crew is, you know, they're the backbone of everything that goes on with this boat. They're the reason that we are different. You may think I say that too much. I have to say that. You understand? If somebody is just getting here, Mark really hit on something. If you can Google and do a little research and see what the odds are that you got a channel that's 90 days old and you got 1,860 some odd people on it. It's not me, people, right? And I'm well aware of that. Yeah. It's really what's going on in the comment section and what's going on with you people. This is your boat. I just get the cool seat and the very cool hat.
Yeah, we're glad to have you, Kathy. I'm glad you're in here. You know, I haven't talked a whole lot, but yeah, I'm glad you're in there talking, and that's a good thing. And let me tell you something, guys. You know, I kind of look at this as well. Thank you, Andrew. What's going on? How you doing? Thanks for the dono.
Andrew, thank you so much. We're happy to have you here, Andrew. Please drop me an email, Andrew. Please.
Yeah,
that's too kind.
But yeah, I mean, I look at this. You know, I used to go when I go to group to get my script and all that. It's a requirement. Now, anybody that's ever been to rehab or whatever, they know this. It's an outpatient rehab program. Some places are once a month. Some places are once or twice a week. But what I figured out about 5 years into that is you're going to get out of group what you put into it.
Amen.
And so when we're here talking, you know, this is very much like it's an informal group session, really is what it is, what it ends up being. Because we're helping each other, and we have a topic, and we try to do those kinds of things just to make it a little structured so it ain't just like all over the place like we are anyway. But
right? Who, me?
Me too, man. I'm telling you, we're both like running up trees and stuff. Anyway, but yeah, and I do think that that's how it is. If you put it into it just a little bit, you're going to get a lot more out. I promise.
And Andrew, to come here and do that on your first day here, that is humbling stuff. It really is. Bless you. I really appreciate you. It does help, you know, keep the boat on an even keel, so to speak. And it touches my heart. I'm glad that you're here. And Niall, I hope I'm saying that right. Niall Parkinson wrote, loss and addiction are closely connected. Loss of yourself, loss of love, loss of enthusiasm for life, etc. Boy, that is an awesome comment. I don't know that I've ever welcomed you to the boat before. Welcome aboard. That comment, people. And I probably dropped the ball by not saying something very similar to that, as I was talking about going down the food chain, because loss really is, you know, the things that you lose. It's so much more than, you know, than just loved ones and, you know, and property. But yeah, the loss of self, loss of love, and the loss for the enthusiasm in life may be I'm so glad that you said that, because we talk about this every day in one form or another. You know, you see people that literally have just lost their zest. There is nothing left in life that's fun for them. And addiction does this. It does it to everybody. It really does. You just lose, you know, life is supposed to be fun. And one of the things that we preach here, you know, over and over and over again is that you can get to the point where you're partying, you know, without drugs, and that this is the party, not the one that you were on. By the way, seventh son again. Thank you, man.
It's awesome.
You know, God bless you, brother.
Don't forget. I'm going to say this too, guys.
And I am lucky you're here. There's no mistake in that.
Yes, very much so. Don't forget that, you know, just say on the same lines of our goodbye letters, don't forget that sometimes the loss of the drug is just as bad. You have to go. Most people go through a mourning process, believe it or not. I know I did. It's like, again, we treat it like a family member, even with the goodbye letters. So why would that be any different? It's not. Because it becomes such a big part of your life that it's there all the time. So it becomes just like a
video
family
on that,
member.
don't we?
What's that?
I said, I'm pretty sure we did a video on that.
Yeah, we talked about that before.
Yeah, when you trade off everything in your life for something, you only do that for your best friend. Sad
right.
But true. It becomes your not only your best friend, but your God. It becomes everything. If there's something in your life that you put in front of your loved ones, you put it in front of your health, you put it in front of everything, that really, there's no question. I mean, it really does become, like a best friend. Sad.
Yeah, I mean, and we have to, we have to realize that, guys, we wouldn't have done that if it didn't feel good. You know what I mean? There's a certain thing there, and I don't want to trigger anybody, but it's just the truth. We wouldn't have done that. We wouldn't kept doing what we were doing if we didn't enjoy that. So when you take something that you enjoyed, you take it away, even though it's the best thing for you, because there's so many other things that you get to enjoy once you get rid of that. But you still go through a mourning process.
No question. Yep, no question. Jerry Armitage, good to see you, Jerry. Always a pleasure to see Jerry in here, man. Fighting a good fight.
Jerry's an awesome dude.
Yep, great guy. From Jersey. Jerry from Jersey. Good to see you, my friend. Glad you're on the boat.
This boat.
They had a big election last night.
Yep.
Pretty sure that was last night. Yeah. So, people, we are coming up on that time of the day, sort of the witching hour, so to speak. It's right around the 1 hour time. I want to thank everybody that came here tonight. I want to thank all of the new people, and I know I say this all the time, but the crew that we got coming on right now, there really is just a different vibe. Very oftentimes, people, the way it works is somebody comes here, they check out the boat. They come back, they check out the boat, they start to meet one or two people, they'll leave a comment or two, and then we'll start to find out a little bit about who you are. We'll start to find out if you're in a, less than a perfect place. You might start to open up, a couple of weeks in, we'll start to see that. That's normal, there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm telling you, the crew that we're getting now, and we know where they're coming from. This was after Mark, went over and did the stuff on Rafugal. We're getting a lot of people that are coming over from that channel and that interview. And I'm talking about 10 minutes after they hit the boat. These people are opening up. They're talking about what's going on in their life. And that, people, again, didn't see that one coming, but I absolutely did not see that coming.
Yeah.
Andy Golden says, I wish you two could be contacted with the VA or connected with the VA policy as their policies suck. You two could make change. You know what, man? I would love to be able to do anything like that. I really would.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what we can do, Andrew, reach out to me. Reach out and send me an email. I don't know that they would let us do a whole lot of anything. I'd be more than happy to I'd be more than happy to talk to them about working with anybody, because I'll tell you something, I've said this before on the show, and I got to say it every time I get a chance to. The uniforms that my heroes wore growing up didn't have helmets. The way my dad raised us, our family was that, the heroes in this country wore olive drab camo. And I don't care how many times I say it, I have a real warm spot in my heart for anybody that took the time to serve in this country. While I was being a jacket wagon and doing the wrong thing, there were people out there, fighting and dying so that I could. And I have an awful lot of, respect
Me too,
for all those people.
And I would say, I would add to that, anybody that's in the military, just know that a lot of us realize it's a lot harder now with all the crap that you guys deal with, even from people in our own country.
No question.
And you guys you shouldn't get treated like that. And that's where the respect comes in. And I really hope you can feel that from us, because I guarantee you most people in the chat are the same way also.
Yep.
At some level, it almost, we say it doesn't need to be said, but it does, because people like you need to hear it. Because that's what you deserve,
No question. Good night, Stacy. Sorry. Stacy's getting ready to leave the boat. No, you know what? And Yeah, it does need to be said, and we probably honestly ought to be saying it more. But for all of you who have served or have family members that have served, I mean, God bless you for real. There is I don't know, man. Like, I'm not playing. They've always been my heroes. That's the kind of stuff that it's way above and beyond the call. It really is, and that kind of service is just a beautiful thing. So yeah, if there was anything, I promise you, man, if there's anything I could do for anyone who was in service, anyone in the VA, boy, go and spray paint our name big as hell on the inside of the on the building, and make sure you put 3 words: the lifeboat. We'll take. I will happily work with every single person and one-on-one if necessary, because my heart is definitely with them. But we're glad you're here, Andrew. We really are. And Flamin' Jackson says, "God bless our veterans." I'm with you, Jackson. I'm absolutely with you. To all of our mods, thank you so much for coming here day in, day out. Making this thing run the way it's supposed to. You guys are awesome.
Let me say something to the mods real quick, Tommy, just before you get off here. Guys, and I know this is like completely way off the subject, but this is really the only time we can talk to each other like in a group forum where I ain't got to talk to everybody individually. If you guys are in there and you're watching the chat or a comment or whatever go flying by, and you see somebody continuously dropping a comment and then retracting it immediately, don't hesitate to block that person. Okay? If it's a mistake, they can email Captain Tommy there, and he can unblock them. But that's a known troll tactic that happens all over the place. And the reason they do that is they know that we can't even look at it. So it's there. Okay. So, and anything that's retracted like that, typically, I don't think the live chat replay even shows it. So what I'm saying is, once it gets retracted, it's gone forever. And the reason why we go ahead and get rid of those people, because sometimes those are porn sites. Sometimes they're all kinds of nasty stuff. But I just wanted to say that real quick, and I know it was completely off subject, but. And
before I bail, I want to say, Nal Parkinson, please, my friend. He said PTSD is a big problem for ex-military. One of his best friends is an ex-Marine who was working himself to death to cope. He says, good channel. We'll be back. Do me a favor, my brother. Shoot me an email so that we can at least get to know each other a little bit better. I really do like to, to connect with the people when they first get on the boat. It makes this better. It really does. And I'm at Captain Tommy Scoville at gmail.com. That's Captain Tommy Scoville at gmail.com. It's in the Dropbox, people. I want to thank everybody that came here tonight. Again, the mods for everything they do. Charlie, I love you. And all of you are fantastic. It was really awesome to see Deja back in the where she belongs, with a wrench in her hand on the lifeboat. And on the other side of the glass, always making this happen and making it look easy, my partner, Mark. Mark, happy you're here, brother. And
I'm happy to be here, man.
I really, really mean that. I am Captain Tommy Scoville. This is the lifeboat, and on the other side of the glass,
Mark Wages.
All right, people, you have a great night, and we will see you between now and tomorrow morning when I do the morning video at 8. You know what I want you to do. Get out there and try to save somebody. Thanks, everyone.